Hello, everybody. I'm Alessandro Costantini, and I'm working at the National Institute for Nuclear Physics in Italy. In particular, in the Center for Research and Development in ICT Technologies. In Artemis, I'm in the team responsible for the design and the implementation of the Artemis Cloud Service Platform. And in this video, I will try to introduce the basic concept of cloud computing and why it is suitable to host the user-oriented services provided by Artemis. But let's start from this figure, where the emphasis is put on the data. Data, in fact, become important in many aspects, including cultural heritage, of course, and having a place where to store and analyze this data become fundamental. In particular, a virtualized hardware and software environment provide the needed elasticity and security to build a so-called community cloud. As you can see from this figure, a cloud is made by different layers that operate together. To understand how this layer operate, we have first to understand the concept behind the cloud paradigm. Cloud means, in general, the use of distributed resources and services. The concept of cloud starts almost 20 years ago, and today represent a set of technologies that reached their maturity and are used in production systems. An analogy of cloud computing can be the power grid. You simply plug the electrical device and use the electrical power, and you pay for what you use. You don't care how the electrical grid manages the power, neither how the power is produced. What matters for you is that the electrical power must be available at the moment you use the device, and you pay only the amount of power that you use. So, in the cloud can be applied the same paradigm. You want to use a certain amount of computing resources or services, pay for it as much as you use it, and stop. You don't matter how the resources are provided or maintained by the provider. The definition of cloud comes from the US National Institute of Standards and Technologies, the NIST. And the definition is so simple: supplying information and communication technologies as a service. This definition comes with 5 mandatory features of cloud, which are self-service on-demand provisioning of computing capabilities, usually without requiring a human interaction, network-based access to the resources using standard mechanisms, resource pooling managed by the provider who guarantee the availability of the resources, elasticity, also in this case managed by the provider of the resources and adapted to your needs, pay-per-use services applied only to the amount of resources used by you. Starting from the definition of cloud and from the feature explained so far, it is clear that now that the emphasis of cloud is on the service, which become an essential part. In fact, cloud computing is typically modeled around a service model that are infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. This figure well explained the 3 models. In particular, we have in blue what the user can manage, and in gray what is managed by the provider. Consider that on local resources or data center, you have to manage all the layers. Let's have a look more in detail with the next slide. In particular, in the infrastructure as a service model, the user can manage storage, compute, and network resources, usually in a virtual form, and choose the preferred operating system and configure the server without to contact the administrator of the resources. In the platform as a service model, some components are provided to the user in the form of building block that can be enabled depending on their usage. Among those components, we can have software environments or already configured cluster of systems. In the software as a service model, instead, the user has direct access to the application that has been already installed and configured. Usually, software as a service applications are accessed via web browser. Well-known example of such application can be Facebook, Gmail, Instagram, and many others. It should be more clear now how the cloud and its service model can be adopted within the Artemis project to provide different services, depending on the different needs of the user and, obviously, their skills. Now, a question. Do we need this level of complexity? What matters at the end are the applications. This is true. It is also true that cloud changed the paradigm for providing services and resources, reducing in most cases the effort and the time to production. However, without mandatory expertise, application cannot be deployed. What I want to stress here is that also competencies are important, including the expertise in the design of cloud-enabled application suitable for this kind of environments. This concludes my presentation, and that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for your attention.